Good morning, everyone. It's Sunday, October 6th. It's time to go on the record. He's been called the new sheriff in town, and U.S. Attorney Andrew Lelling is having a big impact. From Varsity Blues to Boston Calling, how he's making his mark. When things get awkward, Ed Markey and Joe Kennedy shaking hands. But when will the gloves come off in their Senate race? And momentum building for Elizabeth Warren. Is the path to the Democratic nomination suddenly getting much clearer? Let's go on the record.
From WCVB Channel 5, the inside word from Washington to Beacon Hill. Today's newsmakers are going on the record.
Welcome to OTR in this first Sunday in October. I'm Ed Harding, along with News Center 5's political reporter Janet Wu. Great to have you with us this morning. And our guest is Andrew Lelling. He is the United States Attorney for the District of Massachusetts, based here in Boston. He was appointed by President Trump, took office in 2017. He's a graduate of Binghamton University and the University of Pennsylvania Law School. It's great to have you with us, sir.
Thanks for having me.
Happy Sunday in October.
To you as well.
So let's get right to it. One of your ongoing prosecutions is the college admissions scandal, which most people refer to as Varsity Blues. And this has sort of riled parents, not only here in Massachusetts, but around the country, probably around the world. There are still dozens of cases pending, but one high-profile defendant, Felicity Huffman, pled guilty early, and she received a 2-week sentence. Now, your office only asked for a month. Why so light? Were you trying to send a message to the other ones that have been accused or are now facing charges?
Well, there's a few things going on there. It just happened to be that Miss Huffman was probably the least culpable of the defendants who we've charged in that case. One of the things we look to is how much money was involved. So she spent about $15,000 to have her daughter get a fake SAT score. But there was a few things working in her favor. She took responsibility almost immediately. She was contrite, did not try to minimize her conduct. I think she handled it in a very classy way. And so at the end of the day, we thought the 1 month was proportional. I think the 2 weeks that she actually got was also reasonable. I think we were happy with that. I think it was a thoughtful sentence.
So is the message here to other parents that if they find themselves in a situation, just own up to it, and we might go a little lighter on you?
Well, I mean, I think in the system it's almost always the case. If people take responsibility for their conduct and they take responsibility for their conduct early on, then it will probably go better for them. What I value in the Felicity Huffman sentence is that I think it sent a clear message to other parents involved that there really is a good chance that if you're convicted of the offense, you're going to go to prison for some period of time. Because the least culpable defendant who took responsibility right away, even she got prison for some period.
Now, you obviously are charging a number of people, but do you think it is widespread and this is like many, many schools and this happens a lot?
I think it is widespread. I'll tell you why. What you see here is that the coaches at universities and colleges who deal with what we call sort of second-tier sports, so not basketball, football, and baseball, where everyone knows who the great high school players are, but things like crew or lacrosse or water polo. What you have here is coaches in those sports who are given some slots to play with, but there's no real oversight of what they're doing with those slots. And so the temptation grows to sell them, basically. And so you have coaches taking bribes to give these slots to kids who are not really athletes in those sports. And so I think until we did this case, that was kind of a widespread problem. I think the schools are now scrambling to deal with that potential problem.
Janet asked you at the very beginning about Felicity Huffman's sentence. The other high-profile defendant in this is Lori Loughlin and her husband here, and she didn't spend $15,000. They spent roughly, what, a little under $500,000, right?
I think that's right.
So based on what you're saying, one might infer that there should be a harder hammer down the end of the road for her.
Well, if she's convicted, I don't think I'm giving her any state secrets by saying we would probably ask for a higher sentence for her than we did for Felicity Huffman. I can't tell you exactly what that would be, but the longer the case goes, right? Let's say she goes through to trial. If it's after trial, I think certainly we'd be asking for something substantially higher. If she resolved her case short of trial, something a little lower than that. But it's tough to tell at this point how it's going to develop.
I wanted to talk about another thing that is important and talk about Boston City Hall. Judge Leo Sorokin about to rule on the appeal on guilty verdicts of 2 of Mayor Walsh's aides. And essentially, they were found guilty of strong-arming music festival organizers into hiring union workers. Many critics wonder if 2 men with no ability to withhold permits can't insist on union labor jobs. Does this mean that developers now, and I'm looking at the bigger picture, does this mean that developers now can't be forced to build affordable housing to get permits to build luxury high-rises?
No, I don't think it means any of that. And I think This is one of the few cases that have come up in my tenure where I think there has been a disturbing amount of disinformation publicly. In my view, what the verdict in that case means is you can't threaten private citizens with economic catastrophe if they don't do something that they're not legally required to do. I don't think it's so hard to avoid that. And so in this instance, you have the two defendants, Brissett and Sullivan.
But was there a threat of legal catastrophe there?
Yes, because if Boston Calling didn't get the permits that they needed, they couldn't stage their concert 3 days later. Because keep in mind what happens here. They get hauled into a meeting with these two defendants on no notice 3 days before this concert that they've already paid for and for which they've already booked the talent is going to happen at Government Plaza.
But neither of these men had the ability to withhold permits.
Well, that's not clear, and Boston Calling doesn't know that. And mysteriously, they had not been given the permits yet, which they should have gotten weeks prior, and yet somehow those permits had not materialized, and then they're pulled in for this meeting.
So I guess this comes down to how optimistic are you that the Judge Sorokin will uphold the verdict, having made clear many, many, many months ago that he doesn't think much of these charges to begin with?
I think it's clear that Judge Sorokin is a little skeptical of the case. I don't want to comment on what he's going to do here, because those things are pending before him. I do think a factor to keep in mind is that the jury instructions given to the jury in this case, I think, were very thoughtfully laid out. They included many of the caveats that I think Judge Sorokin wanted, things that gave him concern. And so even with those jury instructions in front of them, and the jury even asked for copies along the way, they still came out unanimously deciding beyond a reasonable doubt that these two defendants had committed extortion. And so I think that's a strong factor in the government's favor. But I mean, as you guys know, all of this is now in front of Judge Sorokin, and he'll think about it. And
one defendant has been charged with conspiracy. The other one's been charged with, was found guilty of conspiracy. The other one, conspiracy and extortion.
Correct.
Let's talk. The next issue would be federal issues. Let's talk about immigration now. That you have charged Judge Shelley Joseph and a retired court officer for helping an illegal immigrant escape ICE officials at a courthouse. You say this. I don't want to put words in your mouth. This is not an immigration issue?
To me, this is not an immigration
issue. I was going to say, this is not an immigration to you. But would this even come to your attention if it wasn't?
Yes. That's a good question. I've been asked that question. I think the answer is yes, because the way this comes to my attention is that there's a federal law enforcement agency trying to do its job. In this instance, catch a fugitive who happens to be in that courthouse. So it could have been IRS, FBI, ATF. Here, it happens to be ICE. So the way I hear about this is that allegedly the fugitive is allowed out the back door. ICE is unable to catch that fugitive. They call us to alert us that this has occurred. And so it would not have mattered to me which agency had called. The alleged conduct by the court is the same, and that's what caused us concern.
I find it hard to believe that this has never happened before, though, involving any federal agency, involving any, state judge.
I've never had this come to my attention before. I mean, federal agencies have been arresting fugitives in state courthouses for 30 years. It used to happen a lot in the 90s, for example, with ATF. If they are looking for someone on a gun charge, and they know that guy also has some two-bit state case, and so they know if he shows up for court, they'll be able to get him. They'll show up there, and they'll wait for the guy, and they'll grab him. So it happens every once in a while. I have not, in my time, and I've been in this U.S. Attorney's Office for 15 years, I have not seen this happen before.
All right, you ready to change the mood dramatically? Are you ready for the OTR pop quiz?
I am.
Wow. There was a prosecutorial confidence in that statement. All right, time for the pop quiz. Law and order is the theme. We'll start with one of your predecessors as U.S. Attorney here in Boston, Bill Weld.
Ah, yes.
In 1997, he was nominated to be U.S. Ambassador to Mexico by President Clinton, but the conservative chairman of the Senate Foreign Relations Committee refused to give him a hearing. We have the options on the screen. Who was that senator? Strom Thurmond, Trent Lott, Jesse Helms.
I'm going to go with Helms.
Helms. He was a senator from North Carolina from 73 to 2003. Nailed it, 1 for 1. All right, Law and Order, the original, and now we're talking about the television series. Law and Order, the television series.
Great show.
Great show. Had a 20-year run on NBC. You can see it anytime, anywhere on TV.
Exactly.
You can see it now.
Reruns
if you want to.
are on constantly.
Right. Which one of these three actors?
Oliver Platt.
Which one of these? All right, the question, he got it, by the way. But the question is, which of these three actors was not a featured player in Law & Order? Was it Waterston, Oliver Platt, and Michael Moriarty? By the way, Oliver Platt, he did appear in Deadline, which was also developed by Dick Wolf. And this is a picture of him, if you don't recognize who he is. He's a graduate of Tufts University, by the way.
Are you a big fan of the show? Do you watch it often?
I watched it for years when I was younger. That show's been on for like 20 years, Law & Order.
Still on.
It might be longer.
It is.
I watched it a lot when I was when I was younger in the profession, and they're pretty good. They actually get a lot of it right.
Well, you're pretty good on this too, but you're only halfway through. More on the pop quiz in just a minute.
There's always a but, isn't there?